Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning and welcome back here to Inside the Game on this Tuesday, November 25th, just 2 days shy of Thanksgiving here in the United States. I'm Jonathan Turner. That's Nathan Wangler. Ryan Glinsky hitting the horn. Is it called the horn? Air? I mean, yeah, whatever you want to call that thing. But either way,
you put it in.
I didn't put it. It came with the Roadcaster. It came with our audio interface, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But either way, it is Tuesday. We are 2 days away from Thanksgiving. I'm getting super excited about filling back up again. With all the turkey and all the accompaniments that come with said turkey. Unless you're, of course, Ryan, and you have ham or whatever. So.
Ribs.
Or a pizza.
Or a pizza.
I don't have pizza, but
A
we have ribs.
pizza.
We have ribs.
Oh, ribs. Ribs. Good. Good for you, man. Ribs are good. Ribs are good on any day but Thanksgiving. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, hey, we're excited to be back at this again here this Tuesday. And we're a lot to get to this morning. Minnesota United last night fell short of their chance to make it into a championship game. They fell to the expansion side in San Diego by a score of 1-0. And I know Mech Jack, I think I saw him, he was maybe in the chat here a little while ago. Mech Jack, I'm a huge fan of Minnesota United.
Full disclosure, Mech Jack, I didn't want to bring it up, but
I don't know how you can't bring it. I don't know how you can. I mean, Mech Jack, I'm sure this morning, probably not happy. But again, I don't know. I don't know if Minnesota United at the beginning of this year, if they were a team that was picked to go all the way as far as they did, or was this a surprise? And I'm curious to hear Mech Jack's opinion on that because he's obviously a fan living there in the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. I'm just curious his thoughts on how expectation-wise, because for we talked about this yesterday with the Detroit Lions. We had someone calling the Lions garbage, because they're 7-4, and they're not making the Super Bowl, so they're quote unquote they're garbage. And so I'm curious if Mech Jack comes with the same sentiments. Is Minnesota United now garbage because they didn't make it all the way to the final?
Mech Jack says you can bring it up, but the sound effects are optional because I hit the wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So.
But I'm just curious though: is Minnesota United considered garbage now, or are they? Hey, they just lost to a better team, or did they just not meet up to the expectations that maybe you set?
Wait, so
the
how-
Lions are garbage. I'll tell you that.
The Lions.
How
are not
long has it
garbage.
been since Minnesota United has been to that point?
Huh?
Like, have they been good consistently over the years? I guess I don't know the history of the
I
team.
don't know. I mean,
Well, they finished fourth in the West, so I imagine that's a little bit better than what was expected.
So
yeah,
I mean,
we'll figure
there's
it
not
out.
an
I don't know.
expectation, right? Like they haven't really been there as consistently.
yeah. Well, I mean, we talked
Lions
about
were
this.
one
that
good half
Minnesota
away
hasn't
from a
won
Super Bowl,
anything.
so the expectations have changed.
Yeah, what
Expectations
happened to
have
J.J.
changed.
McCarthy, Mac Jack? Come on, man. He was good. He was once good upon a time.
JJ is great.
Based on recent finishes,
Well,
this
yeah,
is
no.
probably
I
better.
mean,
than
it's
he
been
says.
a little up and down. Yeah.
Mac Jack says no. They lost to a better team. They lost in the same place last year, so they just seem to not get over the hump. Is what I'm gathering.
It seems
I
like
will
that's
admit,
kind of
I
a
do
common
feel
theme,
bad.
though, in the Minnesota land area. Isn't it?
That's fair. That's fair.
It's almost as if like that city, well, the state has just unfortunately never been able to get it across the goal line, right? In that,
I feel like
right?
they are what Detroit was like maybe.
But the entire city,
I
though.
wouldn't say
Oh, dude,
10
we're
years
garbage,
ago.
like
No, just
5,
the way,
6
just
years
the way
ago.
that all their teams are right now. Obviously, the Wild are never really in the discussion. You look at obviously the Twins. Like there are some expectations there, but they always flame out. They're a nothing burger. And then you look across the way at the Vikings, and they're just kind of sputtering. Yeah, they'll have a good win here or there, build expectations, and then just kind of fall off the map. But I feel bad for Sam Darnold, dude. Like that guy had a year with Minnesota, and then they're like, we're going to put all of our faith in JJ, obviously, because he's supposed to be the franchise guy. And I love JJ, don't get me wrong, but yeah, my man has
Why would
not
you
lived
feel
up
bad
to
for
the
Sam
hype.
Darnold?
I don't. Yeah,
He just got a bag. He got a bag, and he's
He did.
playing on a playoff team. That's a good
He
team.
is on a playoff team. I know. But, like, he should have gotten more out of that Minnesota experience, though. I felt like they were a lot better than what they ended up finishing. Just me personally.
I
But
don't
you're
know how
right.
you feel
No,
bad
he
for the
did.
dude.
He
He's
did
making
get
like
bad.
$20 million a year.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel very highly on Sam Darnold, but I clearly Ryan does. Did we already talk about this?
He
Is
sucks
like-
I don't
in
think
big
he's-
games. He's a good quarterback that'll get you to the playoffs, but he sucks in big games.
Yeah.
He's a
That's-
quarterback
yeah,
that will
that's a
get you to
part
the
of the role.
playoff, but he'll suck on bad
In big moments. In big moments, he don't do nothing.
Aside from last year, what other team did he take to the playoffs?
Well, he was on the Jets, so that's like
I'm sorry. I had to. It's all.
he was on the Jets.
Crickets, anyone? Where's the cricket sound, man?
I don't know which one it is exactly.
He's like, it's guys that play against teams. He has had one team go to the playoffs.
There it is. Well, he was on the Jets. Can you really blame the guy?
It's just
Even
funny.
Aaron
You're like,
Rodgers can't get him to the playoffs.
at this point, I think Ryan's lost all credibility when it comes to football. I think. Did we just lose Nathan?
Yeah, I guess so.
Camera turned off. All right, there we go. Well, I'm still here. Here's what we're going to do. It is Tuesday. It's 197, and we're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to dive into Putin wants to hold another World Cup, but for excluded
His
teams.
own.
What's this? We'll talk about that and more here on Inside the Game this morning.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome back to Inside the Game here on this Tuesday morning. Jonathan Turner, Nathan Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. And it was announced yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, it was announced that Vladimir Putin, president of Russia,
Is that his exact
the
term?
owner of Russia, it's
Czar,
like,
I suppose.
whatever you want to call, announced that he wants to because Russia has been banned from any Olympics or international competition due to their invasion of the Ukraine back in 2022. They have not been able to participate, and so he wants to create his own World Cup for those who have been excluded. And so Russia was banned from the 2022 and 26 World Cups due to Russia invading Ukraine. UEFA and FIFA stripped its men's and women's teams from competing. This is trying to pressure FIFA to lift. I don't know how this is going to lift
That's
the
just
pressure.
what the news article said.
I know. I just, but it would feature 8 to 12
Ryan's
teams
like,
and
"Don't
take
shoot the
place all
messenger."
in Russia. Huh?
Ryan's like, don't shoot the messenger. Go ahead.
Well, I know that. I don't quite understand what he thinks. So you're saying hosting another tournament in Russia, a place that no one wants to go to,
And those are the potential teams, too.
and has been excluded from everything.
I'm surprised North Korea is not in the mix.
I know, right? Well, but it's funny. What pressure? I mean, you'd have to have a big enough tournament that would take away money, right? I mean, to be fair, the only way this would pressure FIFA or any other team is if teams who were already committed to going to the World Cup in the United States said, "No, we'll go to Russia instead."
But nobody wants to do that.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm just saying, but that would be the only way you would pressure another country or pressure anyone to. So this is all what Putin is. It's just a joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is just the kid that didn't get the invite to the party, so he's like, I'm going to throw my own, and just nobody shows up because nobody wants to go. Like this, why he would think anybody would voluntarily want to go to Russia to compete in some sort of international competition is beyond me. You're supposed to win your way back in by doing your own thing, by sticking it to the man and giving FIFA the proverbial middle finger. Like, I don't like, what is the strategy here for Vladimir Putin? I've never seen it. Like, the ego on this man is just fascinating. And you talk about feeling bad. I just feel bad for the Russian athletes, to be completely honest with you. I mean, in soccer, but also, yeah, even in the hockey space too. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love watching the U.S. and Canada share the limelight. It's been very entertaining to watch. And obviously Sweden's a close third, but like, they got a lot of great athletes there, man, but none of them can compete because of everything that's going on. And they're really kind of in this holding pattern because there's really no foreseeable way out of it. But how asinine, how out of your mind do you have to be? And that's what makes me think he's starting to slip in between the ears, because what makes you think anybody would voluntarily go to Russia to play? Like, what what in the world would make you think that that's something anybody would want to do is beyond me.
Well, I again, this is if you're a Russian athlete, obviously you want to play. And so if this gives you the chance to do that, then that's fantastic for the athlete. Again, you could do whatever you want. I mean, every year the NCAA has its March Madness, and then there happens to be the NIT. Right, and so
the not invited tournament?
I mean that's kind of what that was created for the. I don't know who it was created by, but it was created to create a place for teams who didn't make it to go and compete in something on a national level. And so I think that's really cool, but nobody really, I think, cares about the NIT.
Yeah, we gotta fix the crisis first before we start thinking about playing sports again. I mean,
for sure.
At least from my perspective.
What else we got on tap here today, Ryan?
We have a lot of stuff. We have a potential red card controversy that happened in the Premier League yesterday. Michael Bradley talking about Christian Pulisic, and a couple Americans scored over this past weekend, including Christian Pulisic. So, yeah, we got a couple things going on.
Well, let's dive into that right now, man.
All right, we will start with this 3 goals in 3 days, and then we'll lead into the Michael Bradley on Christian Pulisic. Friday, Tim Weah scored. Saturday, Malik Tillman scored his first goal in a couple months for Bayer Leverkusen. Pulisic scored again against Inter Milan, so that was in the Milan derby. That's a massive goal. And then I forgot to mention, Brendan Aronson did score as well on Sunday, his first goal of the season for Leeds United. So our players are starting to pick up on form a little bit in the European leagues. And then we'll get to Christian Pulisic immediately with Michael Bradley. So Michael Bradley went on the Tim Howard, Landon Donovan, I don't know what it's called, but the Tim Howard, Landon Donovan podcast, and he mentioned that even if this current U.S. men's national team is inconsistent leading up to the World Cup, they can flip the switch. I can remember the days of the Confederations Cup and the conversations we had. I believe that Confederations Cup was 2009. This was leading into the 2010 World Cup. He says, I can remember the days of the Confederations Cup, the conversations we had, like how we still got to use this, so next summer we are ready. In a perfect world, this group would have been consistent in these last stretches. They've had moments, but it's not as consistent as anybody would think. And he also mentioned, he talked to Pulisic recently and told him that nobody's going to care what the lead up to the World Cup is in a couple of years anyway, regarding the, he skipped on the Gold Cup, made his little Paramount Plus documentary, so that's what he was referring to. But, just any thoughts that you guys have on this?
Yeah, I think I talked about this a little bit. I want to say a little bit on Friday about I'd heard that some Michael Bradley conversations about Pulisic and about the fact that, again, once this World Cup starts in June, those 3 games times 90 are all that are going to be on people's minds. And obviously, depending on how we perform in those games will dictate, I think, kind of like what we think about this past summer. Like I said, winning solves everything. Winning soccer games, winning so decisively solves everything. People have very short-term memories when it comes to winning. and what happens when you win. But when we lose, we have long-term. Remember, we don't have dementia when we lose, right? Right, and so I think that's an important thing to acknowledge. If the U.S. men's national team out in June goes out there and does things that they're capable of doing, if everything falls into place and they win their group and they make their way into a quarterfinal and maybe even to a semifinal, we're not talking about what happened this past summer. If we go in and we get walloped and we lose and we don't get out of group and we have a poor showing, that's all we're going to talk about was what led up to the World Cup. And we're going to say, well, this is where it was. It started with Pulisic not going to the Gold Cup. It started with this. It started with that. And start pointing fingers because that's what we all do. And so I think it's a great thing. And I think it's great for us to all be optimistic about this. But winning solves the finger pointing and it solves us looking at what was the core causes as to why we failed. And so I think that's an important thing to acknowledge.
And more importantly, it's a learned behavior. I remember when you and I were hollering for one win. I vividly remember our episode leading up to the game against Panama in the Nations League. We were talking about how we didn't want them to just go out and win. We wanted them to go out and dominate. And they didn't do that. I mean, that was one of the worst stretches of this men's national team that I've ever seen over the course of this summer. But that's why I asked the question yesterday, and I think Michael Bradley is kind of summarizing it right now because I believe they can flip the switch too with what we've seen, again, from those three across the pond, but also from what our men's national team has done over the course of their last 5 games. I do believe that they can flip the switch, and I do believe that this team has that extra level in them. And he is correct. Once you get to the World Cup, nothing else outside of that matters. Now, we ask our questions leading up to it because we want to figure out exactly what this team looks like. But I think it's interesting when I ask the question, are we peaking at the right time? I asked that question partially because of what we've seen out of the men's national team. I understand that they're just friendlies. There's always that caveat that you can put on those matches that we've seen. Regardless of what the score is, who's on the field, they're just friendlies. They're not elimination games. But we said yesterday that the United States doesn't have really any superstars and that Christian Pulisic is the lone superstar because I do believe he is a superstar. But what we've seen in terms of what Tim Weah has been able to do, also Christian Pulisic, and I read off the stats yesterday, and I'm not big into obsessing over stats necessarily, but I do think they are an indication of how good a player is, and we talked about the goal contributions in Serie A over the last 3 years, but him, Malik Tillman, Tim Weah, we are at a point now with our nation's team, our national team, that we've never been in before. We are into uncharted territory now when it comes to depth, and when it comes to players inserting themselves into these top leagues. We only really have one lone superstar, but at least we're in the conversation now. We have players on rosters making significant contributions in big-time games that are from the United States. If I were to draw a cross-sport comparison, I would say it's something like in Australia in the NBA. Okay, it's not a national team that is necessarily going to go out and win gold medals. They could if they got hot, but the players that they have in the league are making contributions, and you know that they're there and they're represented, right? So when we had that video come out, when you talked about do we have a seat at the table, and obviously people ripped into you, maybe that was just an issue of cutting it the wrong way because I understand the direction that you were going with it.
Wait,
and
they're
that's because
ripping
of the
into
individual.
Me? I didn't pay attention. They're ripping into me?
Well,
let's read the comments.
Yeah, don't look at the comments.
Ryan,
Don't look at the comments.
Video.
No,
Ryan,
don't do it.
Ryan, find it.
I'm telling you, don't do it.
Find the comments from that video.
I'm getting there.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But anyways, I do think this national team can flip a switch when it comes down to crunch time because of what we've seen over the last couple of months. I do think it is a positive indicator. Have they been consistent? No. And obviously Michael Bradley has a point there. But from what he's seen, from what I understand, I think they can flip a switch if they get the right 11 on the field.
I think Ryan found some interesting comments. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh boy, yeah, they ripped him.
Some of these are some good ones. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see. L_coach says, he thinks that's a conversation. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. Maria Tail says, what? No, with a whole bunch of O's. Ben Conde, a seat at the table. We have not even entered the building yet, let alone have a seat at the table. Beto R, ha, 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 ha. No. RP Trizzle, no. Jay, no. We'd be at the kids' table. Absolutely not, says C2. I can't even pronounce that. Some user 934 says no chance. This is the best one. Roma with a couple of A's. Dumbass question. Let's stop giving the mic to any goofy that wants to talk. Crying emoji.
Yeah, so obviously, I asked that question because it plays into the psyche of the rest of the world and how they view the U.S. when it comes to soccer, and I think more importantly, how players view the U.S. men's national team.
You're doing a little reverse psychology? Is that what that was?
Huh?
You're doing a little reverse psychology? Is that what that was?
It was.
I like that. All right.
Because again, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. We talked a lot about it at length when I got back in the studio on Thursday from Tampa. And when I started talking about how seriously Uruguay didn't take the U.S. men's national team. They didn't take the game seriously. I mean, you got into it a little bit, right? We talked about that. And I said, we have the coach saying how lazy the MLS players are. We have a team who is probably, when they walk on the field, and we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of this. Being underappreciative, I'm trying to find the right word to use to talk about how you're undervaluing your opponent, right? All the things that goes into the psychological component of being in an environment where you're trying to win a sporting event. And we can look at historically look at teams who took their opponent, looked at them as inferior, and lost games that they should have won. We could look up. I mean, per example, this Michigan versus Appalachian State, right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that there's no reason that Appalachian and no reason they should have ever beat
Uruguay?
Michigan, huh?
That's your comparison for USA Uruguay?
No, that's my comparison to say that when opponents they treat their inferior opponent, they don't take them seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Uruguay thing. I'm just looking at examples. You could look up and down and say there's no reason that team should ever be beating that team. I mean, if we all look at it and go, Michigan never should have lost that game, but they did. Why did they lose that game? It's because they didn't give a shit about Appalachian State. We can sit all day long and say that they did, but guys, the proof is in the pudding, because if they gave a shit, they would have won that game.
They almost won it after waking up after a bender in which they all went to bed at 4
but again,
a.m.
I mean, how many times can we look back in history and see sporting events where teams should have won, but they didn't win because the other team took it way more seriously, came out way more energized, and was ready to go, and their team was like, well, whatever. I mean, we can go time and time again. It's happened.
That App State team was good, by the way.
Sorry?
They're actually pretty good.
No, I get that. But again, it just goes to show you that we talk about this. A Big Ten team against Appalachian State's on that thing only for the payday and to go out and prove something so they get more recruits. Michigan's there to beat their ass. There's no, I'm sorry, you don't walk into the big house in Ann Arbor and no one walks into my house and stomps all over my team, right? That's how that meant, not that day. And so I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that again, if you're looking at from Michigan to Appalachian State, there's not a single person that walked into that stadium unless they are a fan of Appalachian State. And even then, they thought they were going to lose probably. I mean, again, because you're I don't care what team you are. I mean, you're Appalachian State. You think you're going in that game, we're going to win this over Michigan? You actually think that?
They did, yes. In the YouTube video, they did. They talked about it.
Who's they?
The players.
I'm talking about fans.
Fans? No.
I'm talking about the fans. I mean, again, you're telling me that when CMU walks in to go play Michigan in the big house, that
damn
CMU
we're winning that game.
Get out of here. You're all hoping it's not a blowout.
They better believe it at some.
You're all hoping it's not a blowout. Let's not get blown out here today.
Walk in, we're going to come away with a victory. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
sure. Yeah, sure you are.
But
my guy.
I will say, I think that comparison
never yield.
is a little bad just because of that App State team was like very veteran heavy and they were really good. And that Michigan team was quite overrated at the end of the day. You could say they took it seriously or not back in the day, but I think that this is a little, how do I want to explain? I don't think this is the best comparison
Well, he's right.
you could have used. I would say because that App State.
No, but if you look at it from the
won a
perspective,
national championship.
it doesn't matter. Here's the
That
thing
year.
I think is important.
No.
If you're talking about Big Ten, you're talking about MAC, mid-majors versus the Power 5 schools, I'm sorry, we talk about this all the time. Those Power 5 schools are supposed to win. They are getting the best athletes in the world. And while that sucks on a lot of levels, when you look at putting a Power 5 school up against a mid-major, they are supposed to win. That is how it is supposed to be. That's why they're there. That's why they call them Power 5s. All right. And so, hey, does that mean that mid-majors are going to shock a Power 5? Absolutely it does. But what does it mean? Does it mean that the other team just happened to have way more talent? No. What it meant is that team on that field on that given day wanted it more than the other team. They worked a little harder. They wanted a little bit more. That's usually how that works, how it rolls. I'm not saying there's anomalies in that, but in order for you to go out there and beat teams who have a lot of talent, there has to be an intangible in there that comes into play. And wanting it just a little bit more, having that heart we talked about yesterday, all of that means something. But at the same time, when you're walking into a locker room and you know, and I've been there as a coach and as a player, there are teams I knew I was going to go in, and the team was all, before I ever got in the field, we knew the chances of us winning were slim. We knew it. In our guts, we knew. No matter how hard we tried, we were going to probably lose this game. Didn't mean we were going to not fight for it. And on the flip side, being in the locker room, playing against an opponent you know is worse than you, and know it should be an easy day, where you're like, okay, guys, I might be able to score 3 goals today. What is that? When you go with that mentality, what does that do to you as far as your team? Is the team prepared? Do you practice as hard? Do you train as hard? Do you do all the things you normally do at the same level you do when you're playing against a tougher opponent? All those things happen in these environments. And when you say that we're not at the table, when you say that we haven't even entered the building yet, when you say we're at the kiddie table, when you say those things, that's how the world sees the U.S. men's national team. It means they don't take us seriously. That's what that means. It means the world does not take the U.S. seriously when it comes to soccer. And so when we go out and we beat the shit out of a team like Uruguay on a Tuesday, 5-1, what's the first thing they're all going to say? Wow, the U.S. has risen? No, they're not going to say that. The U.S. is the greatest team. No, what are they going to say? We rolled over. We didn't take it seriously. We screwed up. They're going to put it on the U.S. as if they had a great day. Is that what we're hearing from the international sides? Are we hearing, oh my God, how great USA is? No, we're not hearing that. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that. And because it does trickle down to the players, and we in the media, we have these conversations. So when I say do we have a seat at the table, I absolutely meant it in the way that I did here, where we're talking about it right now, which is we are not there, so the rest of the world looks down upon us and don't take us seriously as a soccer nation. And the only way we're going to earn that respect is to throw it down their face come here in June. And if we can do that, like we did against Uruguay, if we can actually do that and go in and make it to a semifinal, I think we might not have a seat at the table. We damn well close. We might be on the wait list.
Yeah. We're at the door. We finally got to the front of the line. I don't think it's all coincidental what we've seen. I don't think the progress we've seen in terms of them winning games is coincidental. I don't think the progress we've seen in terms of the mentality shift and being able to reinsert someone like Gio Reyna and seeing what he did over that stretch, I don't think that's coincidental. I don't think it's coincidental to see what we're doing over in Europe and what Christian Pulisic is doing. It seems like he's hitting the peak of his career right now. I mean, he's really starting to take over in Serie A. I don't think that's coincidental. I don't think anything. It's just I do think it lines up, and I hope that it lines up the right way. I hope that we make the right decisions in the right spots. I mean, that's all we can base our future judgments on. Do we deserve a seat at the table right now? No, hell no. And I think I didn't know you were doing the whole reverse psychology thing. I wish I did, because that's genius on your part, because I think you know what sells on social media, and it certainly did in that situation. We're not saying that or asking that question because of the results that we've earned in our national team's history. Yeah, we've gotten our big wins. I mean, you know, Michael Bradley's talking about the Confederations Cup, beat Spain, ended a 32-game unbeaten streak. Like, we've had some signature wins over the years. You know, nearly marched to a World Cup final in 2002, but we have not done so consistently enough to even come remotely close to claiming that we deserve a seat at the table. But all of these things that we're seeing right now point to a team that will be well equipped come June. That's all I'm saying. And it's just so hard. It's so hard for Americans to be optimistic. And I understand it. I understand why it's hard to be optimistic about anything as it pertains to this men's national team. But I can't think. I refuse to think that it's all coincidence.
I also think it's important to say that our depth, as great as our depth is, it's still not even close to the depth of other teams in other countries. And I think
I'm not comparing it to other teams in other countries.
I think that as we to the average soccer fan who might have watched Uruguay this week and go, oh my God, look at us with our backups beating this team. I think it's important to say, like, our players, a lot of them would not even, like, our backups wouldn't necessarily even be on the rosters of other countries at all, right? And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge. Tim Howard even talked about how the best MLS goalkeepers, the best goalkeeper in the MLS, doesn't mean that they're the best. They'd be the best goalkeeper for international play. The goalkeeper who's the best goalkeeper, maybe in the Premier League, might not be the best goalkeeper for an international side. I think it's important to acknowledge that. I think it's important to acknowledge that not every player, based on their skill set, is the right fit on the international side. That's why we're talking about all the success Pulisic is having at the club level. He hasn't really been able to show that same success on the international level during the same time period. And so why is that? Because he found his home in the Serie A and had the success there. We talked about this yesterday, having those support players, right? The players there that can support him, the players that make him a better player, the players that can allow him to take some of that pressure off of his shoulders, right? Those things have allowed him to be successful in that environment, which at the same time, he's not been successful in this environment in the international side. And so I think we got to stop putting that pedestal on Christian Pulisic and allow him just to be himself. If we can do that, then I think that pressure will allow him to go out there. The lack of pressure will allow him to go out there and be successful for us in a U.S. men's national team uniform. But I don't think he'll be successful.
The pressure from us is not going to stop. But I mean, from the coaching staff in terms of like how they play, yeah, absolutely.
He just needs players. He needs a support. He needs a support system of players that will allow him to do what he does best. When a player knows in their heart that they are the best player on the team and that there is a significant difference between them and what they consider to be the top level.
It's Mauricio Pochettino's biggest puzzle. It's his biggest question mark. How do we get Christian Pulisic to be Christian Pulisic? Because I think he's done a lot of great answering of questions in certain spots. But that is his biggest puzzle piece to figure out how that fits. Because he's still the best player we have. He is. And I don't think there's really any question mark about that. As you said, there is a steep drop off between him and everybody else on that team.
Well, and again, I think when I made this, when I was making this point, is that when players know in deep down that they're the best player and they are the ones, and I would imagine that carte blanche, right? When we talk about carte blanche, Pochettino's probably given certain players on the team to do what the hell they want with the ball, right? Like Lionel Messi, right? Like he can do whatever he wants with the ball, right? He could drop down into the low, almost as a center back, and all the way up to a forward, right? And I say dropping down, he's not a center back, but getting really low as a 6 and going wherever he wants to go with the ball. He can do that. He has the carte blanche to do that. Blank check to do whatever he wants. Pulisic probably has that same thing on the U.S. men's national team, which means he'll drop down, get the ball really low, and try to dribble out of the back, try to do things in order to create opportunity. And what does that do? It ruins it for the rest of the team because now your best player is not where he's supposed to be because he feels the need to get down there to get the ball. Because what do you want your best player? You want them on the ball. Your best player should be on the ball as much as possible. And when your player drops down and tries to do too much, it ends up hurting the team. And that's where we are right now with Christian Pulisic and this team. He has tried to do too much, and he hasn't relied on his teammates. And when that happens, we get what we get. And that's where you're saying, like, hey, if he's not on the field, are we a better team? Yeah, in a lot of cases, that would be the case because
I mean,
if he's getting out of position, he's getting out of position.
and maybe that's he's just used to playing a certain way on the national team. Maybe that's it. And trying to break that mold and break him out of that and get him to a point to where
this is a bold thing from Mekjak. Bold.
This is bold from Mekjak. You want to make Pulisic good? Bench him for the first match. I don't know. I imagine he means the World Cup, but I don't know. I would like to see. I'd bench him in March. I'd bench him in March. See what happens. I'd bench him the first game against Portugal in March.
Never gonna happen, dude.
But no, I would absolutely want to see it though. I want to see it. I'd love to see him benched in March in the first game. See what happens, and then play him against Germany.
Life isn't a video game.
Have to handcuff
Life
him.
isn't a video game.
I think you have to handcuff Pulisic. I think you have to when it comes to Pulisic specifically. I think you need to say, "Hey, Pulisic, we don't need you to be everything. We need you to be just one thing." And be that one thing. Go be that. Go
but
understand
I don't think he's
going
to do that, though.
Well, I don't disagree with you on that, but I think you got to handcuff him.
I think it's an ego. I just think it's an ego thing at this point. I really do. I also think Pulisic. We are making Pulisic to be a superstar when he's not. I don't think he's a superstar. He is. My comparison that I've said for a couple months now, I don't think I've said it on here, is my comparison of Christian Pulisic to American players is Dylan Larkin. You put Dylan Larkin in the Four Nations, you put him on the second line, and you put him with first-line forwards. Larkin's cooking. Like, this kid's insane. You put him on the Red Wings, it's just bleh. Like, it's better now, but at the time, it wasn't because he doesn't have these first-line forwards with him anymore. Like, sure, by trade, yes, they're first-line forwards, but with the Red Wings, he doesn't have that. He needs the help. And with the Four Nations, you let Larkin cook with these first liners. He's amazing. Pulisic, you put him at AC Milan, you put him with Rafael Leao. He's amazing. Why? Because someone else is taking the load. Pulisic, I think maybe we put him in the spotlight of the U.S. soccer team too early. I would say. I feel like we made him out to be the LeBron James of soccer, and obviously he's not. And we just I feel like he thinks that he's got to take everything on himself when he's not even trusting his own teammates. Whether Pulisic wants to say that or not, I just think that he's trying to be everywhere at once. And there's one player that I played with that played like Pulisic, where he's our winger, but we need him to be a winger, but he's dropping back in the center mid, he's dropping back deep, and we can't progress the ball up the field. That's what Pulisic is at this point. And as John mentioned, you got to handcuff him a little bit. You've got to allow your teammates to be teammates with you. You got to allow them to progress the ball up the field. And I think Pulisic just wants the ball too much. I think he's a little bit of a ball hog. And honestly, I wouldn't mind benching him for a game. I wouldn't mind it. I'm just saying because I'm here for we mentioned time and time again, we've all said the team is better without Pulisic on the field. I wouldn't mind benching him.
Well, we keep saying that in the current environment, though.
All I'll say is that I can name better hockey players from the state of Michigan than Dylan Larkin, but I can't name a better soccer player from the U.S. than Christian Pulisic. So
I'm not a hockey guy, but Larkin was my closest comparison.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying. In terms
but
of
guys, I think it's important. I think it's important to say this because again, I told you that when I saw Pulisic against Japan, I felt that was the most. I think that was the vision I see of Pulisic. That was the vision I would like to see from him in future games, right? Where he has the freedom to do what he wants to do, but do so in a way in which he's not the ball's not going to him for every moment, right? You don't have to have it at his feet the entire game. I felt like in that environment, he's a version of Pulisic we want on the field.
And that's the thing. I don't think it's an ego thing.
Well, it is. Unfortunately, it is. I see it time and time again. You see players who, again, he's coming from an unbelievable team where everybody on the AC Milan team is probably better than every American player.
No, I get it, but I would also think that I would also assume that those players probably just feel like they need to overcompensate. Like it's not necessarily I'm the best, I need the ball all the time. Maybe it just feels like he needs to. Maybe he feels like he needs to be a superstar and not just be himself. Mm-hmm. That's something that he's taken on himself. So how do you break that mold? Like that's the biggest question mark for Mauricio Pochettino. And you're right, against Japan, he was great. I agree. I would agree with your assertion, and obviously you guys got to see it in person. But that's the biggest question. How do we get him to just be him and not feel like he has to take over or dominate the space? That's the biggest question mark.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Matter of fact, here's some highlights right here from that game we talk about from Japan. You know, again, ego aside, I'm not going to dive into what I believe to be an ego or no ego when it comes to Pulisic. I couldn't tell you one way or the other, but I can tell you based on the experience that I've been around players who know that they. Again, it's one thing to know you're better. It's another thing to act like you're better. Those two things go hand in hand. And I also think, you know, Nate, as we continue obviously to look at the highlights here from that game, you know.
Pulisic was off the field at this point.
He
so.
was. Pulisic, he is coming from an environment where, again, he doesn't have to do everything, right? He doesn't have to. And when he comes into this environment, he has to do everything, or at least he feels the need to. And my guess would be is that not in being in meetings with Pochettino, like I had meetings with players who I knew were the better players on the teams. They knew that they had that carte blanche. And to be fair, I don't know how coachable Pulisic might even be at this point in his career. You know, how coachable is he? And again, if you're Pochettino, you cannot not have your best player on the field. You just can't. You have to have him on the field. And so, and I don't know if benching him is the right solution, but I think again handcuffing. And if ultimately a player like Pulisic feels the need that they have to do everything, then you have to put restrictions on them. And if that doesn't help, then absolutely you have to bench him. But I don't know if we're there yet. Again, because I think that we're so used to seeing this team without Pulisic. And without all the other players that we're going to be seeing here in June, I think we're making an assumption that somehow this team is either in a good place or a bad place. We don't know. I mean, I'm so concerned about our starting 11 right now because all we've seen are the intangibles in the last like 5 games. Right? All we've seen are players who are just fighting on sheer will and heart and tenacity, all the things that really don't matter when it comes to talent. You know, when I say don't matter is that talent should always win if you have the talent, right? But we don't have that talent. Right now we're at work rate. It's persistence. It's passion. You know, it's tenacity. It's all those things. And I'm just curious, once our talent hits the field, if we're going to still have the same type of success. And my gut tells me no. My gut tells me that but we're not going to have that same tenacity. My gut tells me that there's going to be a drop. And how are we going to be able to solve that? I think Mekjak's even getting in there as well. I'm making an assumption that our first game is against a team. Like he's saying it's a bad team.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that because I think Mexico has the opening game. Yeah, I would say with the host nation, yeah, I think they're going to give them they'd give them the 4th team. They'd give them the 4th team. The 2 and 3 would play each other. They would. I mean, to be fair though, maybe that's the way it's always been. Maybe just because the U.S. is always like that 2 or 3 seed that they play the 2 or 3, the opposite seed, 2 or 3 seed, regardless. So yeah, I think they would be against a meh team. All I got to say is don't put Morocco in the group. That's all.
Meh-jack team.
The Meh-jack team, nice. That's good. I like that.
Meh-jack team.
I don't. I think what we've seen from the U.S. men's national team in the last 5 games has been 4 games. I think you can argue that 5th game, which was the one that before the Japan game, right? I think that was the 5th game. They played before that. It was in New York, and they played.
Korea.
Korea, right? And so that was the game we lost, and not a good showing at all. And then obviously against Japan, there were a lot of question marks, and those question marks were answered. That's when we went to that 3-4-3, and so I think that there was some excitement about that, and obviously what we've seen over the last after that Japan game, the U.S. men's national team, and so. Again, what happens in February and March will be a telltale sign. Again, hopefully we'll be able to put our best players on the field, at least 90% of them, to see what this looks like, because that's what we want to see. And that will hopefully answer some questions about whether or not we have the fight and the will based on that. But Yeah, I mean, hey, it's 9:45 here in the morning. 197 continues here on this Tuesday, November the 25th. I'll be back here on the other side of this, continue talking soccer here on Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back to Inside the Game here on this Tuesday morning. Jonathan Turner, Nathan Wangler, and Ryan Glinsky, our producer. It is about 13 minutes until this show comes to a close here today. What else we got here as we get ready for question of the day?
Let's talk about the controversial red card yesterday. I've never seen this happen in the history of soccer. Yesterday, Everton, Manchester United, Idrissa Gana Gueye pushed his own teammate, Michael Keane, in the face, got sent off. There's Jordan Pickford right in the middle. They're separating his own teammates. Idrissa Gana Gueye pushes his own teammate in the face. He gets sent off for that. Everton go on and win the game because Manchester United just sucks, and they're not going to allow their fan to cut his hair at this point. But Everton go on to win. But is that a red card for pushing your own teammate?
That's
Absolutely.
weak.
It's not
That's
weak.
weak.
It's
That is
absolutely
weak.
It's absolutely a
By
red
the
card.
rule book. By the rule book. If it's by the rule book, it's by the rule book. Then yeah, fair enough. But that's weak. I still think that's weak as hell. Like, teammates get in tussles all the time. When are you going to throw it? Like, you throw it like a flag 15 yards if a couple of guys are pushing and shoving on the sidelines. Like, I don't understand. I realize it's apples and oranges. I get it. But, like, it's between teammates. Like, what you're going to throw someone out of a game because they shoved their teammate?
Well,
No, man,
again, to be
that's
fair,
weak.
he didn't shove his teammate. He struck him in the face.
Well,
and so that's an important thing to understand. Second,
I would have to see the video,
This
I guess.
is written in the rule book, right? Striking a teammate is a form of violent conduct. And so while you don't necessarily agree with it, you shouldn't be. We've seen this where fans have come onto the streakers have come onto the field, or a fan has come out on the field, and you see a player tackle that fan, and they've been ejected for that. You've seen that too. And so while it seems to be unfair, it doesn't seem right. And Ryan says he's never seen this before. This stuff happens all the time in the Premier League, by the way. You got fans running onto the field the time.
Not what just happened. I've never seen a teammate push his own teammate and get a red card. I've never seen that before.
This is not the first time this has happened.
I've seen people argue about taking a penalty, but I've never actually seen a player just... Nice look, Nate. Just like push his own teammate and get a red card. I've never actually seen that happen. I've seen them argue about penalties, but never in the Prem. I've never seen that happen.
I just watched the video. Okay, I mean, like, I get it. I understand that it's in the rule book. I understand that it's a red card. It's bizarre, though. Have you ever seen that before, JT? You ever had to assess a red card for a teammate hitting another teammate?
Yeah. I mean,
Really?
obviously it's been some time, but I've had to give red cards for players doing stupid stuff like that.
I've never seen that before.
you
I don't
have
know if I would
coaches-
just. Yeah.
I've had assistant
Go
coaches
ahead.
on the benches going at it with each other. You got to get them out of there. I mean, obviously, it's going to be more rare, right? Typically, you're going to be angry at another team, more likely, right? Or even be angered by an official, but then your own teammate. But clearly, there was frustration yesterday that boiled over. And these two, and my guess too is that these two teammates are not eye to eye right now in other aspects of their lives in this environment, because that typically boils over, right? Where things between teammates start to make their way out to the world. Well, that means that something's going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. My guess is that's what's happening here too, because you're in a stadium full of 80,000 people. You know what I mean? Like the worst possible time to be showing that.
I mean, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it against Manchester United because they can't win games regardless. But listen to this.
Yeah.
David Moyes, the head manager, says, I quite like my players fighting each other. It shows that they care. I mean,
I do. I would too.
I don't think he would say that if they lost, I'll tell you that. But they still won. But a lot of people said, yes, that is a red card because it's above the neck. Someone said some pundit said it is by the letter of the law. That is a red card. So, again, if you're going to get sent off, at least do something like cooler than just shoving your teammate in the face.
But you're not thinking about that, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're not thinking about that.
But no, that's it is definitely a red card. But again, I still have never. Have you seen that happen before in a game?
Yeah, I told you I gave red card for it before. I've given red cards out for that.
But you've seen it in the professional game.
I mean, I think this is the first time in like 15 years. But again, there's a lot of professional games that happen. My guess is that this happens a lot more that we don't know about it because it's not a high level game. I mean, you think about all the games that happen in the United States on a regular basis, specifically here in the United States, this probably happens a lot more than you think. But
Luis Suarez
again,
has done it?
striking an opponent is violent conduct. Striking a teammate is also violent conduct. Those both fall under the same guidelines. And if you're a referee, your job is to manage the safety of all players, not just those on the other side, right? So go ahead.
Do we have time for breaking news? Do we have question of the day?
Sure. Go ahead, Bruce. What do you got?
All right. I'm going to read off this headline. U.S. Soccer unveils pathway strategy, a unified national plan with MLS, NWSL, USL, and major youth organizations to cut youth costs, simplify development, produce world-class players. The input, I don't know who this donor is. Arsene Wenger?
Arsene
is
Wenger?
over
Wait.
Wenger? Arsene Wenger. Yeah, there you go.
Arsene Wenger, the GOAT himself,
Yeah,
the
Wenger.
only
Yeah. He's
Arsene
investing.
Wenger doing God's work again.
Wenger. Sorry, I look like an idiot on a podcast for not knowing that. But over $125 million a year in MLS free-to-play investment in USA youth soccer. Wow.
Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
Just continues. Just continues to revolutionize the game of soccer, just like he did back in the 90s and the early 2000s. The only manager in Premier League history, mind you, to go invincible in a whole season, and he also did it on a cheap budget because Arsenal wouldn't spend money back then. So, Arsene Wenger, it's an absolute dog like normal. Just continues to do God's work.
So, that could potentially be massive. It says in here that their goal is to make soccer the largest U.S. sport. Ladies and gents, that's not going to happen. However, that is
I think it already is,
a massive step.
I think soccer already is the largest U.S. sport.
Soccer.
I'm not
terms of
talking about
participation?
professionally. I'm talking about like
Participation?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think
a
soccer
lot
has
of
more
people-
participants than any other sport. I believe.
Yeah, I would hope so. Maybe cricket.
So I
Maybe
guess
cricket has us.
let's make it great again. Then I guess.
Well, no,
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Woo. Shut it down.
let's make U.S. soccer great again. When was it ever great?
You're right. It was never great.
That one time.
That one time against Uruguay.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, see? Hey, you always say women's soccer is good.
Hey,
They're all right.
yes,
They're pretty good.
I think. Hey, I think it's great. All these things are great. I know that I was listening to David Beckham was doing an interview talking about when he came to LA here many years ago, part of the LA Galaxy, and talking about what it was like, and the MLS was talking with him, and he's like, hey, you've got to create this academy system, because I came up through the academy system in England. And every professional team has their own academy system. That's how you find the next player. And what do we have now? Every MLS team has their own academy teams, right? And so that was kind of born during that phase of his career, and now it's exploding here in this country. And you think about, well, what's the next thing? What do we do next? Well, the biggest prohibitive, we talked about this before, in soccer is the cost. And so if there is a way to bring costs down, and to find that next player who is, in the urban areas of this country, or doesn't have access to the same resources as other players, you're going to create an environment that will allow that to happen. Well, then the sky's the limit for us, because that right now is, I think, the single greatest issue that we have is finding players, identifying talent, but more importantly, finding where the player is, and then having them have the ability to get to where they want to go. Those are all the challenges that we face here in this country. But it is time now for question of the day.
Yeah, question of the day. Salt Athletic is an official sponsor of Question of the Day and the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that works. Scan that QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day. What is the worst red card that you've seen that should not have been a red card?
The worst red card that I think that should not have been a red card.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that question should be maybe like, what was the red card that was missed? I can't think of a lot of red cards that were not
I'm an Arsenal fan,
deserving of a red card. I think that with VAR now, I don't. There's probably not a ton of them. I can't think of one where a red card that was given that shouldn't have been a red card.
I can think of a lot. I'm an Arsenal fan. Happens all the time.
How about the most deserving red card I've seen? I feel like I've seen more of those than maybe the other way around. The USL 2 playoffs, there's a little Donnybrook after the game, and I believe there was a chest bump with the referee at some point, and I was like, ooh, can't do that. Can't touch him.
I think his red card was probably the dumbest red card I've ever seen. The headbutt into the chest during the World Cup in 1998.
Yeah, what the heck, man? It's a little headbutt.
You don't remember that one? Ryan wasn't born yet, so.
No, I know which one you're talking about. I was 3 years old.
No, you weren't. I thought you said you were born in 2002.
3, wasn't that 2006?
This happened in 1998. Oh my gosh.
That was 2006. The Zidane headbutt?
The Zidane? I thought it was in 1998, dude.
No, because Italy won it.
Zidane headbutt. Hang on. I thought
it's
it was
2006.
I thought it was 1998.
We should just talk about an entire episode about how
it was
far.
I guess you're right. I thought that was
I
off
know
by
ball. I know ball. What was I gonna say? Who was a card that should have been given in the Red World Cup final that was never was the cleat straight into the chest of Xabi Alonso. You know what I'm talking about? The Netherlands player that didn't get a red card. I think his last name was De Jong or something. But that one was a clear red. Literally went parallel with the ground. Cleat straight into the chest of Xabi Alonso. I don't know what it's called something, but I forgot what it's called.
Nigel de Jong on Xabi Alonso.
Classic Man City player,
2010 World Cup. That was when Howard Webb was. There was like 20 yellow cards issued in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
And he did not want to give a red card at all to anybody. He just was given just straight yellow cards. John, if you were one of those teams was the team that you manage in FIFA, that you play as, there probably would be no red cards compared to your average of 2 red cards a game when you play me in FIFA.
I'm not sure what he's talking about, by the way.
Stop with all the slide tackles, JT. All right,
always a slide tackle.
Just be more sound.
Yeah,
do your job.
To each their own. To each their own.
Who's the guy that
you
got
yell
3...
at yourself during halftime? Are
Yes.
you like your own like coach? You like go in the other room and just start yelling. What are you doing?
How about
Get out
in
the
also
whiteboard.
in the 2006 World Cup from Croatia, Josip Simonic, probably butchered that. He got 3 yellow cards. He got a second yellow card and just kept playing on. The ref didn't give a red. But he got 3 yellow cards.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it was
allowed to do that?
accidental though. That was accidental. Yes, it's a thing. It can happen.
So that is the most deserving red card that was never given.
I would
fair.
argue that's probably true.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
There you
probably
go.
up there. That's accurate. Yeah.
Hey,
sure.
It's great conversations. We've got one more day here before the holiday break here as we take a step back to be talking about the things that we're thankful for. I think that's a great exercise we should do here tomorrow. Talk about the things that we're thankful for here as we head into the Thanksgiving break. But yeah, this is a wrap here on number 197 here this morning. I just want to very quickly here, because it was just announced here just a moment ago, and we're going to discuss it right now. But we are coming back for our second consecutive year with the Major Arena Soccer League. Those games kick off here this weekend. 96 Major Arena Soccer League broadcasts here will be live on the National Soccer Network, exclusively on Roku this season. We're excited about that. MASL Mondays will also be on our platform as well. The weekly recap of all things Major Arena Soccer will be a lot of coverage coming your way. Also, this upcoming Friday, Black Friday, marathon of all MASL games. We're going to have a marathon from Friday at 12 o'clock in the morning all the way through the kickoff of the season here on NSN. So you can watch every MASL game. You can put your hot mind to, all available here live on our network here starting on Friday. So a lot of exciting things coming your way. Check out our social media. Don't forget to subscribe, like us, and share this with your friends and family. Be back here tomorrow morning. Same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.